Are you over being pregnant? Like, you cannot go one more day being pregnant, walking around with this big old baby in your belly. You could be getting close to your due date. You could be past your due date and your doctor is starting to bring up induction and you're trying to figure out, what can I do on my own at home to get this baby out so I do not have to be medically induced? If that is you, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to talk about 8 different ways that you can safely induce labor at home. Hey mama, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chanel. I am a doula and I help families go from a place of feeling really overwhelmed and anxious and unprepared and honestly feeling like they have no idea where to start when it comes to preparing for a natural birth, to actually walking into birth feeling excited and empowered and ready to have the birth that they desire with their partner, because they have the tips and the tools and the knowledge to actually feel powerful and know how to advocate for themselves in labor. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, make sure to hit the subscribe button below, where I will teach you all about that on this channel, and check out my Work Your Birth program down below, and that will be a place for me to walk you through it, literally step by step, so you don't have to figure all this out on your own. So check all that out in my description below and join our community. We're so excited to have you here. Now I want to start this video off by saying it is extremely important, even if you feel like you are at the end of your ropes of being pregnant, that you just do your best to try and let your baby bake as long as possible. And the reason that I say that is because if your baby can choose their birthday, labor tends to be a little bit smoother than trying to induce, unless of course there are medical reasons to do so. So it's important to understand what is a medical reason versus a non-medical reason to be induced. And I talk about all of this in my program and really break it down so that you can have those conversations with your provider. But it is important to understand those things first when thinking about trying to induce labor at home. Now, if you are in a situation where you absolutely need to start trying to ramp things up to try to avoid a medical induction, or you just feel like, if I don't take things into my own hands, like, I'm going to ask my doctor to induce me tomorrow. And if that is where you're at and it is safe to do these things, you are not 37 weeks, please wait until you're closer to your due date, like 40 weeks or more, to actually implement a lot of these things. So I want to throw that out there before we go into all 8, because I do not want any of you moms who are 37 weeks trying these things right now, because this is not for you. Learn about them, keep them on the back of your mind, take notes, but please do not implement any of these strategies until you are over 39 weeks, preferably past 40 weeks, so that you can actually allow your baby to grow and to bake as long as possible and allow them to go into labor spontaneously when they're ready. But all of these things that we're going to talk about in this video are not going to automatically induce your labor. They are to help your body prepare for labor. They are to encourage your body to potentially go into labor, but I don't want you to think that these are going to absolutely make your body go into labor. At the end of the day, your body and your baby will make those decisions. And I'm sharing that from experience, because I was that mom who was trying to do all the things to help induce labor, and I tried all of these things, and my baby did not come as a result of me trying all these things. And then with my 3rd baby, I did a few of these things and my baby did come. But at the end of the day, it was really their choice on whether or not they wanted to actually do what I was encouraging them to do, and your baby will decide whether they want to do that or not. So keep those things in mind as we go through these 8 ways that you can safely induce labor at home. The first way that you can encourage your body to potentially go into labor at home is using red raspberry leaf tea. Now, red raspberry leaf tea can be utilized throughout your entire pregnancy. You can drink 1 cup a day throughout your entire pregnancy, and then once you get to 36 weeks, you can increase that to 3 cups a day. The purpose of red raspberry leaf tea is to actually help stimulate uterine contractions and prepare your uterus for labor. That does not mean that if you are drinking red raspberry leaf tea that you should expect your uterus to start contracting in the 1st or 2nd trimester. That is not what is going to happen, and that is not what should happen. If it does, pay attention, and maybe you should stop drinking red raspberry leaf tea too early on, or if it makes you feel weird, you don't have to drink it. The reason that I bring this up is because if you're not doing it, it could be a way to help encourage your body to go into labor. If you already are doing it, it can also be a way to encourage your body to go into labor. That can mean making your tea a little bit stronger and concentrating it more versus drinking 3 cups randomly throughout the day. This can also mean that if you think you are potentially in early labor or things are kind of weak, you're not sure if it's early labor or Braxton Hicks, this is also a great time to be drinking red raspberry leaf tea, because if it is early labor, you can strengthen your contractions this way if your baby and your body are ready to actually go into the full swing of labor. So red raspberry leaf tea is a great tool and a very easy one, very safe for you to utilize, especially towards the end as you are trying to get your body ready to go. The second way that you can safely induce labor at home is through a birth tincture. Now this is much more utilized in the natural birthing community, so if you're trying to have a natural birth, this will be really, really helpful for you. But there are a lot of herbal remedies on the market that you can utilize to help encourage your body, your cervix, and your uterus to prepare for labor. They also have protocols on some of these tinctures that I will link all in the description below, that if you are trying to induce labor, you can take a certain amount a number of times during the day, and it can help actually cause your body to go into labor. Now, it is important to understand what ingredients are in the tinctures that you are choosing. The one that is most widely used and most widely available is by Gentle Birth, and it is really helpful. It seems to have worked for a lot of the moms that I've supported, and a lot of moms report that their labors tend to be smoother and a lot quicker when they actually utilize this tincture. I utilized a tincture in my 2nd labor and in my 3rd labor throughout the end of my pregnancy, and I will definitely say that it was very helpful in comparison to my previous births. So I highly recommend labor tinctures. One thing to note is that if it does have blue cohosh in it, I would not recommend taking it because that is a little bit more risky for your baby. So if you do see some that have blue cohosh in it, I would definitely try to avoid those. Some of them also already have red raspberry in it. So if you are taking a tincture, Gentle Birth has red raspberry leaf in it. So you won't have to do that and the tea. You can utilize it all in the tincture. And if you are planning to use a local herbalist, just make sure that you are using ingredients and herbs that are safe for you and for baby as you're preparing your body for labor. The third thing that you can do to safely induce labor at home is exercise. Hopefully we are moving our bodies throughout our entire pregnancies. I understand that is a lot harder in the first trimester when we are exhausted, when we don't even have energy to get up and move around, let alone try to exercise. So give yourself grace if you are still in the first trimester and I'm telling you to exercise. It is okay. Do what your body is telling you to do and try to move as much as you can. And as you get your energy back in the 2nd trimester and hopefully a little bit more in the 3rd trimester, then you can start to move and exercise. Obviously, we know a lot of us, if we're in that 3rd trimester right now, that the energy starts to die down a little bit. So do your best to continue to move around. But one thing that has been helpful for a lot of my clients is to practice movement in late 3rd trimester. Utilizing the exercises and the movements that you're going to be utilizing in labor. That's lunges, that could be squats, that could be curb walking, that could be walking. There could be a lot of different things that you're doing in labor that you should put your body in the position to do early. Your body can do up to 300 air squats a day. So if you're really trying to induce labor, squatting, lunging, exercising, these are all ways that you can help your body encourage itself to go into labor or to help your baby engage into the pelvis so that they're getting lower to potentially trigger uterine contractions. Now, always listen to your body. If you have not been exercising the entirety of your pregnancy, I don't think it's a great idea for you to try to whip out 300 air squats tomorrow, because that could put your body in a little bit of a state of shock, and you don't want to do that. And then you could do those things and then not be able to move the following day. So listen to your body, ease into it, stretching, yoga, Pilates. These are all very simple things that you can do that will still help you get the baby engaged in the pelvis as much as possible and hopefully get your baby encouraged and ready to go. The 4th way that you can safely induce labor at home is sex. Now, for many of us, this is how our babies were created. And even if this was not the route that you went to create your baby, there's probably a lot of oxytocin that has been formed or stimulated throughout the duration of your pregnancy between you and your partner. Oxytocin is the love hormone, and oxytocin is what is needed in order to get labor going and to keep labor progressing. So if we can stimulate oxytocin a lot once our babies are full term, especially in late third trimester, that can also encourage our bodies to go into labor. Orgasms can help stimulate really strong uterine contractions and help the body go into labor. The other thing that sex can do is it can actually soften and ripen your cervix. So if your partner is trying to be helpful, they can hang out in there for a little bit, and their semen or sperm will actually help soften the cervix, which is the same thing that evening primrose oil could be doing or dates could be doing. That is the purpose of utilizing some of those other things. But the only natural prostaglandin that exists is your partner's sperm. So sex for oxytocin purposes and for the prostaglandins is really helpful and can help strongly encourage your body to go into labor. So increase the intimacy in late pregnancy because it will help if you're in the mood. The fifth way that we can naturally induce labor at home safely is by massaging and doing some sort of relaxation to the body. Now, this may not always be done at home. Maybe your partner is not great with massages. Maybe they don't know how to use their hands properly. Maybe it's just not the best place for you to do it at home. But any sort of massage, induction massage, relaxation, rubbing on your body and releasing the tension is really helpful, because in late pregnancy, a lot of us can really get into our heads. We can start to get overwhelmed. We can start to get tired, a little bit more moody, a little bit more emotional. We can start to allow the fears to creep back in if you haven't done the work that you should be doing in pregnancy to overcome some of those fears. Those can start to creep back up. And I always tell my clients, we have to do the work early, because once we get to this part of our pregnancy, there's a good chance that the fears are going to creep back up, and we have to be practicing relaxation techniques throughout our pregnancy so that we can keep our bodies calm throughout this. But if you're struggling to do that, totally normal. Go get a massage. A lot of times our babies will not come until they feel like we're relaxed and ready to go. And a lot of that starts in the mind. So if you are not doing the mental work right now, you need to be doing that or finding somebody who can help you do that. And we do all of that in my Work Your Birth program. Schedule a free call with me below and we can talk through all of that. You should, and I would encourage, getting prenatal massages throughout your entire pregnancy, especially in the late trimester. And you can even go get an induction massage at 40 weeks. But doing all of those things will release the tension in your body, hopefully help you feel relaxed, stimulate the production of oxytocin, and your baby might feel like, okay, it's safe to come now. Mom feels like she's ready to go. So I would encourage you to do those things if you have the opportunity to, for the purpose of trying to induce labor. The sixth thing that you can do to safely induce labor at home is right along the lines of massaging, but it is acupressure points. Acupressure points are different points on your body that you can utilize to actually induce labor. Some of them work, some of them don't. Depends on the person, depends on the day, depends on what your body or your baby are ready for. However, when you are doing these induction massages, or if you go to a professional to get an induction massage, a lot of times they may utilize acupressure points to help trigger uterine contractions. Those can be in your feet, those can be in your hands, those can be in other parts of your body. But you can look some of these things up. I teach these things in my program, but we can utilize acupressure points to stimulate uterine contractions. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it stimulates them only for a short period of time, sometimes it doesn't. So it's really, again, up to your body and to your baby, but acupressure points for some women have been very effective in actually helping stimulate labor contractions. If you are doing those massages, like I said, utilize some of that within the work of the massage at home, or you can do something as simple as going and get a pedicure, because that works too. And that is exactly what I did right before I went into labor with my third child. Again, this is not a foolproof method, but if you are at your due date, past your due date, this might be a good time to utilize this. This is not a good time to utilize it at 37 weeks. Really not even 38 weeks. Like, get past that and get as close to your due date so we can allow your baby to bake as long as possible. But acupressure points, reflexology, anything that will help stimulate those uterine contractions will be really helpful in trying to induce labor safely at home. Now, number 7 is nipple stimulation. Nipple stimulation can be done in a variety of ways. It could be done with the use of your partner, You can do it yourself. You can use a pump, either a hand pump or an electric pump, but nipple stimulation produces the oxytocin hormone, and that happens when you breastfeed, that happens when you have nipple stimulation in late pregnancy, and all of those things can stimulate uterine contractions. So there are different protocols that you can look up out there. I'm not sure how many people share those publicly. Maybe your doctor will give you some suggestions. I talk about them and I give very specific protocols if you are trying to induce labor at home using nipple stimulation in my program. But it is important to understand how to do it, because just simply using your partner as a tool but not really knowing how to do it properly may not get you the effect that you want. So it is important, because it is effective for a lot of women to stimulate uterine contractions, but you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that will keep labor going and not just stimulate contractions for a short period of time because of the oxytocin that's produced during the moment of nursing, pumping, actually utilizing it for intimacy purposes, whatever that may look like for you. But nipple stimulation is really effective, and it can be a really great tool to use to try to avoid a medical induction, especially if you have one coming up. All right, y'all, if you are still here, I am very proud of you, because this last one is one that probably nobody else is talking about, but it can be super effective and was actually really effective in my second pregnancy when I was trying to get labor going, because I had hit that 41-week mark. Now, the 8th way that you can induce labor at home safely is through homeopathy. If you have not heard of homeopathy, it is a great and amazing natural tool that you can utilize for so many different things. Obviously, we're talking about it here for labor induction, but it is a really great tool for natural treatments, for your health, for your colds, for your kids. So many great uses of it that I wish we talked about it a little bit more. But homeopathy is one of those underutilized tools when it comes to induction. Now, it is important to have a conversation with your midwife or your doctor. Doctors aren't as educated on homeopathy, so you may not get as much information from them. However, doulas, some midwives are trained and understand homeopathy as it pertains to inducing labor. But there are ways to utilize homeopathy to induce labor by using it in a certain protocol, taking a certain amount at a certain time on certain days. Normally, these don't start until around 40 or 41 weeks. However, you got to talk to your provider about that to figure out what feels best and what makes the most sense for you and for where your baby and your labor is at. But in my second pregnancy, I utilized this at 41 weeks and I did go into labor the next day. I've also shared a lot of these tips with my clients, and they have utilized homeopathy not only to induce labor, but to help reduce pain in labor, to help turn babies in labor. All of those things have been really effective. So it is important to reach out to somebody who is an expert in homeopathy, understand it a little bit more, look it up, do a little bit more research, or just join Your Work Your Birth so I can give you all the tips and the tools that you need for that. But homeopathy is one of those things that you probably should know about if you want to have a comfortable labor. One that I will share with you that you can definitely do a little bit more research is called cauliflower. And I'll put all of that and I'll link it in the description below. But cauliflower is a really great tool to help induce labor. Now, I want you guys to note here that I did not bring up castor oil. And the reason that I did not bring up castor oil is because castor oil is like a last resort tool in my book. Castor oil in almost all moms causes a lot of diarrhea, nausea, stomach discomfort, sometimes even cramps, and it is not very comfortable and doesn't make the labor very comfortable. Now, it can be very effective in actually inducing labor, but what I do find is that the moms who have utilized castor oil in labor tend to have a much more uncomfortable labor. Now, if you are getting to the wire and your provider actually recommends that for you, then that is something that you should listen to and consider if that makes sense for you. But castor oil does have a lot of side effects that can cause baby to go into distress, which can cause meconium, which can cause potentially more complications in the labor process itself. So I do not personally encourage castor oil as a form of induction unless the provider is doing it in a way where it can be packaged, created, made in a way that doesn't make mom as nauseous or have as much loose stools or diarrhea, and they're monitored safely so that if baby does experience any levels of distress with castor oil, that they have a little bit of extra support throughout the labor experience. Now, I do know moms who have used it and it's been phenomenal and it's been great, but I personally don't recommend it and I don't encourage my clients to use it. So I don't have a ton of experience talking about castor oil. Maybe another doula or midwife does, but I personally do not recommend it for inducing labor because of the negative side effects that seem to outweigh the positive ones. Okay, that is a lot of information, and hopefully you took a lot of notes, and hopefully this was helpful for you. These are obviously not all of the things that you can do, but these are the ones that I tend to encourage or recommend the most. I hope this was helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, hit that thumbs up button, and I do want to know in the comments, which one of these things do you plan on using first if you are at this video trying to induce labor? Which one are you going to start with today or tomorrow? And also let me know how many weeks you are in the comments so we can be cheering you on and rooting for you as you are hopefully welcoming your baby earthside very soon. If you guys are interested and you are still in that 3rd trimester or 2nd trimester and you are trying to just get this education early, but you want a little bit more support and you want the step-by-step, not trying to figure this all out yourself, because there's a lot of information out there and it's so hard to figure out what should I listen to. If you are needing that level of support and you want this to be a very positive, intimate, beautiful, peaceful birth experience between you and your partner, check out my Work Your Birth program below, where I will walk with you every step of the journey, make sure that you and your partner are prepared, and give you all the tools that you need to have the most beautiful, positive, natural birth experience that you deserve. All right, y'all, that is it from me. I will see you on the next video.